Tristan's number one. I saw
We're live, guys. Welcome. We've got the crew. We've got Tony, Jeremy, Jim. We're going to be talking about calc. If you don't know what it is, don't worry about it. We'll loop you in. But first, I want to know, and I don't know which one of you is going to take this one, but I want to know what's the data out there that we can use to connect with the audience that we want to connect with, because we've got three different markets. We've got a market that's still falling. We've got a market that's pretty even, and then a market that's hot, which is crazy. But how do we use this data to connect with people? Because I think agents miss this. Who wants to take that on?
I mean, I've been using the NAR housing market forecast, 5 key takeaways that came from a couple of weeks ago of where the market's going next year. And that's where I've put my belief. I'm not really chasing the fear-mongering ones that say, like, hey, you can go to Southwest Florida and steal a house right now. I mean, that sounds great, but I mean, our November has been insane for us in the Carolinas. Now that's North and South Carolina. Now, are there pockets of like, oh my gosh, Myrtle Beach condos? There's a flood of them. Sure. But who wants a condo? No, I'm just kidding. So I always, I don't know. It's one of those things you go through, but single family, I think the core fundamentals for single family are still really good. And every housing outlook I'm looking at shows hang on to hang on to what you're going to do next year. It's going to be wild.
Yeah. I'm hearing some of that. I'm also hearing that, well, Realtor.com, Redfin, and Compass recently.
Yeah, they're all saying
they're
flat.
They're saying flat pretty much, right? So NAR is the only one that's saying this is going to blow up, guys. Hang on to your horses. We're going to go. And I'm like, okay, cool. And then you've got all the crazy YouTubers saying this is going to crash, and those are crazy people. But
they don't know what they're talking about. Exactly. I mean, even the home building. We operate a home building company, and even the HBA side is saying the same thing. Like, it's going to be good next year.
Yeah, I would weigh in and say it really depends on what region you're in. So there's a huge difference in regions.
I agree with that.
Just looking historically at a national level, for one thing, NAR's chief economist has a tough job because he's trying to provide an accurate forecast that's also something that's going to kind of encourage the people who are seeing it to stay in the industry, and so that can be tough. And so you look 12 months back, and NAR was forecasting 4 or 5% appreciation this year. That's really not what we've seen this year, right? It has been pretty much flat nationwide.
Yeah.
And when you look, the pockets are, to your point, Tristan, there are 3 very different markets operating today. Prices falling, prices continue to be pretty hot. The Northeast is good. The Midwest generally is good. The South and West tend to be struggling. And so that's kind of a general overview. And then obviously different metros have different dynamics.
Yeah.
But we are seeing a lot of major metros where prices are coming down 2-3% a year. Now, does that translate to a need for fear mongering? No, I don't think it does. And, I think we can talk a little bit more about why and what's different than, 2008. There's obviously a huge difference in the amount of equity in homes. And that makes a big difference in terms of people's willingness to walk away. That makes a big difference in terms of the list of foreclosures. And so I don't think we're looking at a collapse, but I do think that, depending on what market you're in, you should, nationally, I think we're probably looking at prices being flat to down slightly for the next 12 months. What most people forget, though, is the best reason for optimism in the housing market is inflation. Right. So where you have big affordability problems, which we should probably get into a little later, if home prices come down 2% and wages rise 3%, you had a 5% improvement in affordability. Right. And that can really matter over the course of a couple, 3 years.
What we're seeing right now, by the way, Jeremy, in terms of lending perspective, we're having a record month this month, just like Tony is. Congratulations, Tony. It's because October rates dropped to the record lows in the last 3 years. So you're seeing a 60 to 90 day deferred benefit from that event happening. So we're seeing a closeout of rates that are about 0.5% lower than they are today. And that affordability factor is so key. Every 1% difference in rate is about 11.5 difference in buying power. So as that cycle happens, you're going to see people coming in and out of the marketplace, realizing that two things: current homeowners will look at their anchoring effect. As that rate gets closer to their current rate, they'll be more likely to move or do something. And secondly, those rates being more affordable for a first-time home buyer will let them buy more of a property. So it's going to be a really interesting 2026. I'm worried about stagflation. Stagflation being the fact that inflation happens and income growth goes down. That's a really bad place to be from the economy. And that's something that Jerome Powell mentioned on his call last week. The Fed can only do certain things. They can only increase and lower interest rates and buy bonds for quantitative easing. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. And like Tony, I'm building a big project in Wisconsin, so the Midwest. We've now closed on 80 lots of our first 705 lots within 2 months. So big builders are buying property in the right markets. Back to your point, Jeremy, of like the market localities.
The regions. Yeah.
Yep. So it's really cool on this call. We have LA, we got Hollywood, Tristan, we got Jeremy's in the Colorado Rocky Mountains. I'm in California in Midwest, and Tony's on the East Coast. It's really cool. We have all the markets on this call, which is really cool.
I like that. No, with all the data that's out there and knowing that anytime we say there's an affordability crisis, right? It's a trigger for some people, and it makes them go crazy on social media, right? Or if you say, hey, the market's okay, and they're like, what are you talking about? And they're in Florida in a bad area, and they're in a condo, and they're like, no, you're wrong. How do we have these conversations so that we can connect with people? Do we start regionally? Do we start nationally with the news? What do we typically do to connect?
I wish I had one of my sheets. I could maybe put it up on the screen for us. I can probably pull one up pretty quick, but I have this sheet I call Generational Wealth. It uses, it comes from, I'm forgetting the name of the group that does it. It's one of the big groups.
Is it like Keeping Current Matter? Or no?
Nope, it's not one of them. It's one of those like Statista or something is the name of the group that does the data.
Oh, got it. Okay.
The data comes in and it basically goes back to what I always tease about. So I'm 43, born in 1982, which supposedly if you would have bought a house in 1982, you were crazy because they were 18% the year I was born. I remember coming out of my mom's womb hearing the news. I'm just kidding. So hearing the news about these rates. I mean, I remember, but I think every year I hear some grandpa or somebody say, I would hate to be a kid today. That's the word. I would hate to be a kid today. Well, I've been hearing that when I bought my first house for $79,000. And then you fast forward to my brother-in-law, who's a great guy, smart guy, has done very well in the Midwest. Last year, his son got married, and he looked at me in where they were getting married. We were down in Florida, and he says to me, man, he goes, I hate to be a kid today. He goes, when we bought our first house, and he went down that same path. And he's like, they'll never be able to buy a house. They're going to have to put PMI down. That he doesn't have 20%, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is the same loans that we've had, FHA, USDA, VA, there's down payment assistance. There's so many things. I mean, what the heck, you guys, what are we up to in California now? An FHA loan is probably 1.25. What are we looking at?
It's 1.275 million in the Bay Area. Which is nuts. 4 units now breaking $2 million. 4 units, $2 million.
It's great to be a kid today. All the wealth I've built, so a lot of the wealth I have is from housing. So every decade, homes double. Pretty much, I've got the chart from 1950. Home values have pretty much doubled every decade. The only time it didn't was right around, like if you take 05 to 15, there's it went up from an average of 220 to 280. Or something. The average didn't move where it doubled. But then if you go to 2023, 2025, I keep asking people, what do you think? I use that chart with all of our customers all the time and say, based on the last 60 years of data, do homes basically almost double every decade? In a decade. I'm not saying every year, in a decade. What does it look like? And they'll go, so what do you think 2035 is going to look like for a first-time home buyer? Based on the last 60 years of data, what does it say? And it's probably $700,000-$800,000 here in the Carolinas. Absolutely. So how many, if I would have come to you in 2020 and said, buy all the houses, do you wish you would have bought more? And they're like, oh my gosh, I wish I would have bought 2. And some people are like, I did buy 2. I bought 2. And be like, okay. Okay. So what do you think 2035 looks like in Charlotte, Raleigh, Myrtle Beach, Hilton Head? How about even Detroit, the big D? I mean, those places, a lot of those areas are flat. Usually I grew up in that metro area, and I always sit there and say, I mean, it took a long time to recover from 08 up there. I mean, you can still probably buy a house in Flint on a credit card.
You can.
Yeah, I was say there's some of those markets that exist like that because there's nobody moving there. It's like you guys, Tristan, you've probably sent out the article a couple times this year that shows like where the U-Haul trucks are moving. So it's like, here's the data. You know, I know. It's like, here's the data. Here's where the trucks go. Here's where they don't go. There's not many riding back into Flint. So it's one of those types of things, right?
Yeah, that's an interesting. I like that you approached it that way. And if you go back far enough, it goes actually back to what Jeremy was saying. Some of that has to do with inflation. Like you can't beat it, right? Just join it. And then the other piece to this that we layer in is, as soon as Wall Street got involved with housing, it was like, it's all over, right? There's only one way. It's up over a long period of time because they have to go up.
Yeah. And I think that's part of why I'll weigh in with a more kind of slightly more cautious perspective on it. I would say in markets where housing is affordable, that is super sound advice, right? Over time, your alternative is rent, like the old real estate agent adage of like you're paying rent or you're paying towards principal. That's true as long as you're actually paying towards principal. If you're paying more in interest and taxes and everything else than you'd be paying in rent, it may not be the best like financial decision in the short term. Over the long run, housing tends to do well. Housing tends to do well as long as you can make your payments. And that's where I think affordability is a challenge in a lot of markets today. So if you kind of look historically, a couple of different ways to think about affordability. One is the general, like how many years of your income is the house going to cost? Right. And the standard guidance of kind of 3-ish years is what you ought to buy. Today, the average median home price divided by median income is about 5.2 years. So you need about 5.2 years of income to buy a house today. That's higher for sure. Rents are also high because we have a housing shortage, right? Yeah. So that's another thing to factor in is just supply and demand. Yeah. But when you look at the need to be able to afford your payments, one of the big advantages for a lot of current homeowners is they already have equity built up in their house. Now, to Jim's point, some of them may feel locked in because their current mortgage rates are really low, but they've built wealth over time, and that wealth is still there. And so that wealth is part of why I don't think we're looking at this. You know, what was the histrionic one like 2 weeks ago? Some Instagrammer or, social media talking head saying home prices are going to fall 50%.
Yeah. Crazy.
That was Melody Wright.
Yeah. I don't even know who she is, but she's predicted the last 3 years we'd have a crash.
Yeah.
She also predicted Jesus was going to return. I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
I think she should change her name to the opposite of Wright.
Melody Wrong.
The best move for her.
Yeah. Listen.
Structurally, that's just not there. Now there is reason, I would say, for some caution. Let me tab to this real quick if I can share a screen.
Yeah, go ahead and put it up and I'll throw it on there.
Can you see that?
Not yet. I don't see anything.
How about now?
And now we do.
Okay. So this is looking at essentially inflation adjusted home prices. Okay. So this is what
the crash. There's the crash. Yeah. Right? Yeah. There's the crash. Yep.
And here's where we are now. Now, are we elevated versus this? Yes. However, housing has also historically outpaced inflation. So we're probably not as much higher this as it appears, but structurally there's not the same level of risk here, because again, people aren't in a position where
and it didn't go like this. It didn't
and
go
there's
like
a
that.
short- right? So again, what I think we're probably looking at over the course of the next couple of years is home prices, being relatively flat, but hopefully wages continuing to rise, and that's going to pull this number back down.
Yeah, that's probably what's going to happen. I mean, I hear it quite frequently that people they can't afford houses, but it's probably just decisions too that you make. I mean, not to bring out a Dave Ramsey rule, but it's like a lot of times people are spending outside of their means. But if housing, I mean, Warren Buffett said it clearly a long time ago, make one decision, it's own a house. That's the first thing you should do. If you can take any money that you have, but think about what these kids make today. I mean, dual income kids today. I mean, the kids that come out of the schools here, like where I am in the Carolinas, I can't get any of them. If I was to sit there and be like, we start off at 40,000 a year, they'd look at you and be like, they're like, I can DoorDash for that or something. Like, why would I'm not going to do, like, I have a degree in this. They want 80, 90, 100 base salaries. So you combine a dual income now together. These dual incomes are 150 to 200 like that. And I go, when I was their age and was trying to buy a house for 150, 200, 300,000, I was happy to be making 100K. But now it's like these dual incomes are making 150 to 200. That's what I'm seeing. Like I'm not talking about the person who, is working at, as a cashier at Chick-fil-A, being able to buy a house. I'm just talking about the people that come out that are the ones that are probably buying houses every single day. These dual incomes, they have a lot more money than that's from what I'm seeing. And we have to hire people all the time. And I'm not seeing people willing to work for 40, 50K. I wish they were.
It's a different, dude. You hit it right. It's just so different in that case.
Tony, minimum wage in California is like 70 grand.
Yeah, exactly.
$65,000. So yeah, it's pretty wild.
Yeah, so I don't see people like even opening their mind to these numbers. Now I get it. It's hard to go work somewhere. I mean, I think Starbucks is like $19 an hour or something nowadays. I mean, it's like you can be a coffee barista. Now I know why my coffee is $19 every morning.
That's right. All right, let me show you guys something because I want to then quickly ask Jeremy something in regards to calc. Because when I take a look at, this is from Realtor.com. You guys can see my screen here, numbers?
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. Realtor.com 2026 housing forecast. These are the 100 largest U.S. metros. So obviously, Northeast is crushing it, right? It's destroying everything and growing. But we go down, and then we see that
we
start getting into negative.
I saw this. I ran this.
The negative.
I looked at this over the weekend.
Raleigh, for example.
Yeah, you've got most of the pockets are going to be in Florida, and then Texas, and then some in Colorado, as you're seeing. But the question that I have is when I take a look at something like this, and then I take a look at what calc can do, how do we approach both? Let's just go with two markets. Forget the middle. How do we approach that so that we can help both markets?
Yeah. So with what we do, it is you hit the nail on the head, Tristan. It's really hard for us when we message out to agents what our offer is going to be, because we have to price in what those changes are going to look like over a 6-month hold period. We issue a guaranteed backup agreement and give someone 6 months to sell the home on the open market. If we're issuing that agreement into a declining market, we've got to allow for that. If we're issuing that agreement into an appreciating market, we've got a little bit more room to be flexible. And so one of the ways we handle things differently than some of our competitors is with underwriting that tries to price that in. And so, a lot of our primary competitors tend to have these kind of like blanket statements. This is what the amount's going to be. This is, where we'll do a more kind of robust underwriting approach. And sometimes that means we're underwriting into a market and we say, look, we can't quite get there. But more often than not, it means we're coming into a market and we're looking at it and going, well, if we're right on the money and there's predictable homes, there's a lot of activity, we can see that it's there, we may be able to go up a few percent in terms of what our guaranteed backup agreement is going to be. So it really, we're not here to buy the house. We're not here to negotiate and try to purchase the home. We're
Just a
not,
bridge.
we're
Whoa.
here to provide a guaranteed backup agreement that gives you time to move forward and close on the next home with a non-contingent mortgage. That is a very cost-effective way to negotiate aggressively on your purchase.
Okay.
Then you've got 6 months to sell. And so that's really key
That's
for
great.
us, is being able to really look at which markets we're in and we're operating in. And the more predictable and stable that market is, the more equity we may be able to help you unlock through.
Well,
through
take me through how this works, because if I'm in a market that's not as competitive, but I have a seller who says, "Hey, I want to sell," and then finds the home, how do they use you? And then how does their home get sold in a tougher market? Take me through that.
So if they're in depends on how tough the market is. If it's a market where that house is probably not going to sell for a year or a year and a half, we're probably not a great solution for you.
Okay.
If that's a market where you're pretty sure it's going to sell in 3 to 4 months and you have a high likelihood it's going to sell in 6, we're a terrific option, because what we're going to do is we're going to issue a guaranteed backup agreement. It's going to be pretty heavily discounted. Again, we're not an iBuyer. If you're looking for somebody to, if you're looking for We Buy Ugly Homes, call We Buy Ugly Homes. Don't call Cal. Right. And but if the house is clean, it's in a stable market. It's in a stable market that may not be moving so fast, but you've got room and some confidence that you're going to do better for your seller if you have 3, 4, 5 months to sell versus having to try to fire sale the thing in 30 days, especially in this market. Right. Or make a contingent offer on a home that you're going to have to wait 2-3 months and somebody else is going to come buy it and you're going to lose it.
What's the fee? And is there a way to like white glove it as well?
Yeah, it's $2,000.
Like
it's $2,000 plus 1% of our offer. So let's say that it's a $400,000 house and we make a $300,000 offer on the house. The fee is going to be 1% of that $300,000 plus $2,000. So it's going to be $5,000. And that compares to a lot of, if you look back at some of the previous generations of buy before you sell, you'd be looking at $15,000, $20,000, $30,000 to try to like read that.
Yeah, it was a lot more. We used to use one called Ribbon that was in our markets for like 2019, 2020, 21, 22. And we even like white labeled it a different name. And it was a great product while it was here.
Yeah,
so it was expensive. It was 2-3%.
How does this work then? If I'm the agent, I bring in the client, they find their home, they want to just get into that home first, right?
That's right.
And where do I get paid? That's all I want to know.
So you'll get paid regardless of whether or not we buy the house or you sell it on the open market. You'll get your same commission rate. Now your commission rate will be based on the price. So we're not going to pay the same. We're going to buy the house from the homeowner for the price that we agree on. So if that house is worth $400,000 and we buy it for $300,000, your commission rate that you've negotiated as the listing agent with that homeowner is going to be on the $300,000, not the $400,000.
Got
right?
it.
And so, but that's important. We're not here to buy the houses. We want the real estate agents working to sell the home, and we don't want a conflict of interest between us, real estate agent, and your client, right? Your client wants the best price for the house. So all of that, we put a lot of thought into how we make sure that incentives are aligned for everybody all along the way. But what happens is when we make that guaranteed backup agreement, the mortgage lender can use that to eliminate the departing residents from debt to income. And so because they can eliminate that from debt to income, your client can just go ahead and close on that next house.
All right. Question for Jim. Jim, pretend you're AI. Can you just repeat what he said in 5th grade language, please?
Yes, sir. Arigato, Mr. Legato.
Hey, my ass was way better than that.
Sorry. Yeah, basically, Calc is your partner. If you're a realtor or lender, Calc is your go-to partner in the marketplace. They can white label Tony's stuff for him and allow a client to move forward with buying before they sell, giving them 6 months to decide what they want to do. Hopefully they get a better offer than Calc's offer. but Calc's not a competitor in any capacity to the realtor or lender. Calc is not licensed as a real estate company or as a lender. Therefore, they are not in the pocketbook of Tony or you, Tristan, or myself as a lender, which makes it a win-win. And that's the benefit of Calc, which I love.
So they're not a lender.
We work with lenders, and we have a pretty robust network of lending partners at this point. So somewhere, depending on how many active LOs you want to tally up nationwide, somewhere between.
So how do we, Jeremy, if I'm sitting in front of a client and
I was going to say, when will they buy? When do they buy? Is that 6 months?
6 months out.
Tony, I'll go to you. How can I use this on a listing presentation? And how can I use this when they're already my client and I have their home listed? At what point is better? Are they both good? Give me different examples.
Yeah, I don't know. Like when we used to have the similar kind of model, but we haven't had it in years. I like this. I'm just trying to get to the details of it because I would have used it as like, I'd probably submit it right away. Like as soon as I list the house, I'd probably get an offer from Calc on day one, just so it can, hey, FYI, I've got an offer for you. So here's offer one. So now I've done my job to secure my commission. I've provided an offer. You may not like the offer, but I've got an offer. So we know where here's one option. And then option B would be, I would probably always do it. I think it's a great idea. We used to do something very similar. We had our internal ops team instantly send it over to Calc because sometimes, I mean, depending on the old rising market, I mean, none of us probably want to go back to 2021, 22, but it was like, sometimes you'd submit it to Zillow, and Zillow or one of these companies when Zillow offers lost $1 billion is they were coming in higher than the market, and you'd be like, okay, you want to buy this house for. And maybe if it's maybe if Jeremy goes to that list and he's like, hey, according to Lawrence Yun and Danielle Hale, they think the market's going this way.
That's true.
I would love to lock it in at this number, but I don't know who knows. But I'm really excited to learn more because I think the more tools you have like this is the stuff that I always want to try to align myself and look at myself as, I don't want to use the word innovator, but there's always a disruptor in the market, and people love to talk about disruptors. That's the clickbait, but it's like, I actually want to be able to show up with something like this and say, hey, this is why you list with me over some other guy that's just here to show up and is hoping to put a sign in your yard. I like to offer more value, and this gives me more value when I'm standing at the table.
Dude, I love that. If you lead with that from the beginning, like that's crazy. Then all of a sudden, they see it. They don't just hear it, right? And they're going to remember it a lot better. Jeremy, I have a question. How low or at what number do you guys typically come in? Do you have a template? Is it just case by case?
It's generally about 70%. Homes need to be marketable. So they need to be in marketable condition. We're not fix and flip as a general rule. They need to be, again, we're intentionally not going to make an offer high enough that you will want to sell it to us. So if we do, we screw up, and we screw up very, very rarely.
Yeah.
So don't call us trying to offer a house for more than it's worth and then get upset when we don't make an offer for more than the house is worth.
Yeah, the best is when a realtor is selling their own house to Calc. Like, hey, our house is worth $8 million. No, it's $220,000. Let's get the number.
That's funny.
Yeah. But as a general rule, it's going to be around the 70% range. And again, probably the biggest difference between us and, for example, the get an offer from Zillow is when our agreements are executed, the lender can actually use that to eliminate the departing residents from debt to income. So
Love
you can
that.
get a mortgage on the next house right out of the gate.
Jeremy, I'm going to go to Jim on that so he can explain it. And Jim, I want you guys to go for an extra 10 minutes. I just have to jump off to another meeting. But Jim, expand on that because I think that's a massive, massive thing that's completely missed by agents using this at the beginning.
So it's just assuming, though, that they've got to have all that equity. So like in your example of 400, 300, that's assuming they've got $100,000 in equity, right?
That's right.
Okay.
That's right.
Exactly. So we're leveraging the equity. We're making sure they qualify for whatever they're doing right now with the assumption that the money they get from the proceeds, they can pay down on that new loan that they have. So what we're going to look at as a lender is we're going to look at qualifying them today with just their new payment, making sure that the debt is handled with Calc's offer or purchase price guarantee. And then anything above that, when it settles out, hopefully they get a better offer than the Calc offer. They can apply again to the next property to recast that loan to a lower amount, or they can put that in the reserves, whatever it might be. What I love also, Jeremy didn't mention yet, is if you, Tony, have an offer from Calc at $300,000, the house sells for $400,000. Calc gives back the difference in their carrying costs and the commissions back to the consumer.
And if we have to buy the house, so yeah,
really powerful.
So 98% of the time, the houses sell on the open market for full price.
Yep.
If the timing's off and it's in that 2% where we buy the house, we buy it for $300,000, it sells for $400,000. We're gonna assess, the transaction costs, title.
Yeah. That's worst case scenario.
Carrying costs, and then let's say it sells for $400,000 and there's $50,000 left over. We're gonna turn that $50,000 back over to the homeowner.
Very powerful tool, and it's great because it's creating the life event element of our time right now. People are trying to make that move happen. They don't know that products like this exist, and it's just a way to get a call to action done from the minute you meet them at a listing. Tony, right? You could be in there and here's the options, and you as an agent want to get that call to action done. You want them to make a decision to move forward or not, so you can prioritize your clients, your needs, your business around that to make sure you're helping people.
Very cool. Makes perfect sense. That's really cool.
Yeah.
I'd like to learn more. I think it'd be good for our leadership team to hear about it. Do you guys operate in all markets, or is it only certain cities?
We're in 48 states. We're in 48 states. So general, the population needs to be, 7,500 people in the town or near a major metro. So you can have these, it's 2,000 population suburb, but it's 15 minutes away from a major metro. We'll typically issue an offer there. So it covers, I think the last time I checked, we cover somewhere on the order of 75 to 80% of markets in the US from a population perspective. So
is there any unique factors that you don't make an offer? Like if someone, I'm just thinking of some of the stuff I've heard always in the past. It's like, if the house that's on more than 5 acres, we don't, there's usually it's like single family residential or townhome or whatever, as long as it's not on, you're not interested in a 100-acre farm.
That's exactly right. Yeah. We're not interested in a 100-acre farm. Typically we're looking for, like you said, properties with less than 5 acres. Probably the biggest difference between us and the previous generation that you're used to, like Ribbon would buy the next house for you, rent that back to you.
Correct.
And that's what made it so expensive, is you've got the duplicate transaction, the extra carrying costs, and the higher interest rate environment. You're financing it at the higher interest rate instead of that lower interest rate. We're making a backup offer on the departing residents. So you're keeping that lower interest rate for the financing rate on the departing residents. There's no duplicate transaction fee. You're closing with a conventional mortgage on the next house immediately. And so it pulls the cost down dramatically. We typically cost about a half to a third.
It's pretty slick
of what the previous generation did.
And from a new builder perspective too, this could be something that you offer your sales. We're doing this. We're going to be offering this to our builder partner in Wisconsin, right? Conventional markets, because it's a conventional loan is what you have to qualify for to do this, right? It's a conventional.
So conventional 5%, 10%.
It could be any of those things. It's anything that Fannie Mae allows for. So it could be any of those options. It's the same guideline. So it's a great tool to use for new construction. Move up, move down, whatever it might be. We just need to make sure that they have equity in their house, and they could take out equity of their property if they don't have any of that 5 or 10% down payment. So for example, let's say we made an offer at $500,000 and the borrower had $300,000 of loans. Well, we know that Calc would buy the property at $500,000. Therefore, a lender feels very comfortable going probably to 90% of that number to lend more down payment. So you go to maybe like $450,000 of loans on that property. So they could do a line of credit to remove their equity to put towards the next property, because they know that that purchase price is already there. That backstop is there. That house will be acquired at that $500,000 mark no matter what. Pretty cool.
So that's perfectly said, Jim. So one of the questions was, is the offer good for 6 months? So it's not like we'll issue an offer and then you don't have to choose to accept it or not for 6 months. we'll extend an offer. You have 30 days to accept that or not. We'll probably actually shorten that time frame, but give an extension. But today it's 30 days that you have to choose whether or not to accept that offer. But once the offer is accepted, you have 6 months of a marketing period to sell it to somebody else. And so the reason for that is until that offer is executed, the lender can't use it to eliminate the departing residents. The house isn't actually under contract. There's not an agreement in place. But once we issue that agreement and that agreement is executed, then there's a 6-month marketing period that you have to sell it to somebody else.
I think it's cool. I want to learn more. I know
You got it.
especially on the home building
connected.
side too. I want to be curious on some of our, obviously conventional only, but would it work on a jumbo loan too?
If you can break them up, up into do 2 loans, maybe a first at high
Yeah.
conventional loan limit and then a second up to $500,000, that's possible.
Okay.
And you can go from state to state, right? So you can port this. Let's say someone's moving from Texas to the Carolinas. You can use that. This can be a multi-state thing. You can use it to recruit. You can white label it. That's all the really cool benefits. And knowing that this company, Calc, is not going to change their business model tomorrow to be your competitor like other companies have done, right? Hey, this model's not working. Let's just flip it around because we're in Silicon Valley and let's just, not respect the relationships or the database. And so I think Calc's been a really good partner to us to be respectful of that relationship, and all communication goes to the agent, borrower, and lender. As long as the borrower authorizes it, you're in the loop the whole way through, which is awesome. So you're not missing out. An agent feels empowered. They feel like they still have a little bit of control, or at least a little bit of the communication proactiveness involved, which is great too. So that's what we love about it.
Yeah, that's a terrific point, Jim. We're not here to replace anyone. In fact, from the beginning, when we built the company, the entire premise was why are all of these competitors pivoting to become lenders or become real estate brokerages? Like, we have an existing ecosystem that works. There's a tremendous amount of value created by agents and LOs today. There's no need to try to displace that. Just arm them with the tools that they need to do their job better. That's it.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate you guys both for being on right for the holidays. Super excited to get you guys both on here too. True legends in the industry. And Tony, it's been nice to get to know you this last year also with some of the events we're part of.
Absolutely.
And I can't wait for the future of 2026. I know you guys will be at the top of that leaderboard. Yeah, it's been good.
Yeah, it's going to be a big year.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you guys very much for your time. And yeah, I like the Rhino. I like it. Thank you guys for your time very much. And
thanks, Jeremy. I'd like to get your number. Connect me with Jeremy on an email.
Awesome. You got it. We'll do that for you guys.
Thanks again.
Have a
Jim.
wonderful holiday, guys. Thanks, Lab Code Agents.
Take care,
Thanks, Tristan.
Yeah.